My son told his aunt he wished she was his mom. His heartbreaking confession forced me to finally tell him the secret we'd been hiding for years. My son told his aunt he wished she was his mom. It broke my heart and confessed the secret we'd both been hiding for years. Life has a funny way of putting the pieces together, even when you're convinced the puzzle is broken forever. My story isn't about a dramatic fight or a shocking betrayal. It's about a quiet, slow-burning love that grew in the ashes of two broken families, a love I was too afraid to ever name. Until my 9-year-old son said the words out loud that changed everything. It all started to fall apart years ago. I married young, and it was a disaster. My wife had an affair that led her down a dark path to addiction. One night, she just walked out on me and our 2 young kids. The last I heard, she was homeless in Las Vegas, still with the man who got her hooked on heroin. I was left alone, a 28-year-old single dad with a broken heart and 2 toddlers who couldn't understand why their mom was gone. I had to pick up the pieces, so I focused on my kids, got a divorce, and tried to build a stable life for us. Through it all, one person never left our side, my ex-wife's younger sister, Sylvia. In the year after the disaster, she and her husband became our rocks. They'd babysit, calling it practice, and they spoiled my kids rotten. They were the positive light we all desperately needed. Then, tragedy struck again. Sylvia's husband, a truly great guy and a good friend of mine, was killed in a terrible accident at work. It shattered her world. She was left a young widow with a newborn daughter. Suddenly, the roles reversed. It was my turn to be her rock. I started taking her daughter so she could have a moment to breathe, to grieve. We leaned on each other, 2 people who had lost their partners in very different, but equally painful, ways. Over the last 2 years, we became a constant in each other's lives. She came for dinners a few times a week. Our kids became inseparable, like sisters. We were a team. And somewhere in the middle of all that shared pain and support, my feelings for her began to change. It started with a deep admiration for the incredible mother she was. Then I noticed how her sense of humor could make me laugh on my darkest days. Then, I couldn't ignore the fact that I was physically attracted to her. I felt so guilty. Her husband was my friend. She was still grieving, still wearing her wedding ring. So I buried it deep, convinced I would carry this secret to my grave. Then came the moment that shattered my resolve. One morning, after Sylvia had spent the night, on the couch, completely innocently, she made us all breakfast. The 4 of us, me, my 2 kids, and her, were sitting around the table laughing. It felt like the family I had always dreamed of but never had. When she left, she kissed my forehead, a simple gesture that felt earth-shattering. Later, I found my son in his room, looking sad. I asked him what was wrong. He looked up at me with these serious eyes and said, "I wish Aunt Sylvia was my mom." He told me how she never yelled, how she drew pictures with him at his grandparents' house, how she was just always nice. Hearing my own deepest wish echoed from my son's mouth was the final push. I knew I had to do something. I was terrified. I asked her to dinner, my heart pounding the whole time. When she showed up at my door, she took my breath away. Dinner was perfect, easy conversation, light touches, a feeling of rightness I hadn't felt in a decade. But I still couldn't find the courage. It wasn't until I was walking her to the car that I finally said, "Forget it," and took her arm. As I opened her car door, she stopped me. She looked nervous, took a deep breath, and said, "I really want to kiss you right now." That kiss, outside that restaurant, lasted a lifetime. All the longing, the years of secret feelings, poured out. In the car, holding hands on the drive home, we finally talked. She confessed she'd had feelings for me for 6 months, that she'd been jealous when I went on a few failed Tinder dates. She was afraid I'd think she was too much like her sister. I was afraid of disrespecting the memory of her husband. We had been 2 fools, secretly in love and too scared to talk. We decided to take it slow, for the kids and for her grieving heart. Telling the kids was surprisingly simple, all they cared about was that they got to play together more. When I talked to my son alone, he asked if this meant Sylvia would be his stepmom. I told him he could call her whatever felt right. He just smiled. Life isn't a perfect fairy tale. My ex-wife did eventually call, 8 months clean and full of regrets. Telling her about Sylvia and me was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. But we got through it. Sylvia even spoke to her. Now, our messy, blended family is happier than I ever thought possible. My son is no longer that withdrawn, hurt little boy. He's trying to impress Sylvia, showing her his drawings, basking in the motherly attention he craved for so long. We leave love notes in lunchboxes and send flowers just because. I had forgotten what it felt like to be in love, to feel loved. She made me remember. She made me feel alive again. Sometimes, the greatest love stories aren't about love at first sight. They're about love that grows from friendship, built on a foundation of shared pain and unwavering support. It was my son's innocent wish that gave me the courage to finally reach for my own happiness. And I've never been more grateful.